Wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. All of you, I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Fight Game Talk here. We are back live. Back live. It's been a while, and we got some boxing to talk about. Let's see here. I think we'll talk about that Thurman Porter fight that was supposed to happen in March, but it got canceled. Thurman suffered an injury from his a car accident. He has an injury to his neck, which is completely understandable. I don't think Thurman was trying to duck Porter by any means. I don't see any reason for him to want to duck him. I see that more as an easy win. Maybe if he was trying to duck him, he was trying to duck him so he could get a fight with Danny Garcia instead of Porter, because there's really no win for him with Porter, actually. I mean, there's a win, you can say he beat Porter, but at the end of the day, if he beats Garcia, he'll get a belt off of it, which I think is kind of promising in a lot of ways, to hold two belts, and then he could be on his way to unify the belts. But I do think the fight is going to be rescheduled. And I believe him and Porter are gonna get it going. But that was a big disappointment for boxing, because really boxing doesn't have much lined up. Okay, we still have the Pacquiao Bradley fight. Speaking of the Pacquiao Bradley fight, Bradley, he's been kind of quiet for this fight. Like, he hasn't been saying much, and he's always been kind of quiet, but he hasn't been saying anything. Not trying to get any attention from anything. Trying to keep it low key, kind of like. Pacquiao, on the other hand, has been kind of in the news about a lot of little things here and there. What he said about gays. Sometimes, I think, you just gotta think before you talk. And I think that was one of the instances where he didn't think before he spoke. But, it was his true opinion. Was it a good opinion? No, not at all. Um, it was completely off base, and he knows it. I mean, he's really religious. I know how that goes with that and gay and everything like that, being gay and stuff like that. But honestly, you're a public figure, so you probably should relax on stuff like that, especially saying stuff like that. Um, you know, now I read an article where the guy that's running against him for Congress in the Philippines is saying that Pacquiao has an unfair advantage of being able to market himself through the fight to to win his campaign. Which I mean, what are you gonna do? Stop the guy from doing his job? That's what he does. That's what he's always done. Nobody's ever complained about how he markets himself through his fighting, and really without his fighting would he really be able to market himself the way that he did? And I think that's an honest no. I mean, you can't take the man's job away from him. Yeah, you can't take the man's job away from him. Um, and that's the reason why he's famous. That's the only reason why he got elected to Congress. Nobody's ever talked about all the great things he's done for Congress or for the government and everything like that. They always talk about what he has done as far as boxing goes, and that's what gave him his publicity to actually help the Philippines out and bring light on some of the situations in the Philippines. So I think the guy is like completely off base, completely just. And I mean, the guy's just really looking for anything. But those are some of the problems Pacquiao is having during this training camp. Not only that, he lost his sponsor of Nike. It was suspected that he was going to sign with Under Armour. Under Armour declined that he is not going to sign with them. I mean, when you say stuff like that about a certain class of people, certain group of people, certain social group of people, a lot of times people don't want anything to do with you anymore, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I mean, I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in putting somebody in a box or putting somebody down because of the way they are, as long as they're not, hurting anybody or doing anything wrong to anybody, then, let them do what they do. A lot of people don't believe in boxing and believe that that's just violence and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, we all have our things that we do. I want to get into the Terrence Crawford fight that I saw last night against Lundy. It's a pretty good fight. And Terrence Crawford kind of started off kind of wary again. I guess Lundy was kind of crafty in the beginning. Lundy said he was going to take care of Crawford once Crawford went lefty, turned southpaw on him, and he had to answer for it and everything like that, which I believe he did not. There's a lot of talk. It was a lot of, whatever. But, the guy, Lundy, he had some craft. He had some craft. He had a little bit of skills, but once it was figured out, he had no adjustment once he got figured out. Once he got cut, he should have realized, hey, I'm kind of figured out. I needed to step back and switch my game plan a little bit. I'm cut for a reason. It's not like I got cut and the guy sneezed on me. That's not the case. Here's the deal that I noticed, because I fight as a lefty. Not saying I'm a lefty, but I fight as a lefty. When a guy that does not usually fight as a lefty or does not switch stance usually, and then he switches stance to a lefty, I know I got him. I know I mentally have this guy, because he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to find something, and he's completely out of his element at that point, and that's when you take advantage of him, and that's how Lundy got taken advantage of. He definitely got taken advantage of. He thought he was doing something good, and he got blown out. yeah, he just got blown out. I mean, we could talk about the Quig fight. I don't really want to get into that. To that fight. It wasn't. It even wasn't even that much of an entertaining fight for me. I mean, yeah, it was. It was very technical, yes, but I mean, it wasn't that entertaining for me. Um, what I want to get into is how. I mean, damn. I want to get into how people keep bringing up Mayweather. Like, let him go. He's retired. He said he's retired and he's gonna be retired, and I hope he stays retired just to burn people's bridge, just to burn people's ass. I mean, there's so many people that hated him, and all these people that hated him, they still want him to come back and fight Triple G, and I got a problem with this. Triple G is huge compared to Mayweather. If you really think about it, Mayweather came from the lightweight division. Okay, he went up to welterweight, and then he went up to what do you call junior middle or whatever, and that was even a struggle for him to get up there. So now you want him to really go up to middleweight. So I'm just thinking, do people really want to see him get his ass whipped that bad, or are they that much of a fan? They want to see how great he really is. I mean, the guy has skills and he's really, really good. But, people, we want him back. We want him back into the fight game. But as a whole society, we ran him out of the fight game, truthfully. I mean, we were like, we can't stand him, da 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 da, and at the end of the day, some of the things he did was just uncalled for and absurd and asinine. But I mean, we ran him out of the game. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to talk about with boxing right now going on. We got the Amateur Olympics coming up. Kind of a big deal going on with the Olympics right now. The Olympics has always been for the amateurs, as we know. But they're talking about putting professionals in there. I mean, at first they were talking about putting professionals that just have a certain amount of fights. I believe 15 and under, 15 pro fights and under. But now they're talking about even opening it up further. If you do that, these amateurs have no reason to stay amateur, if you know what I mean. I mean, they have absolutely no reason to stay amateur once they get about 40 or 50 fights in there. Because at the point that they got 40 or 50 fights, you can pick up a lot of skill, and you're not going to take that much damage. You could take some damage in amateurs, mental damage, chin damage, because now they're going without headgear. So I mean, you have absolutely no reason to stay amateur unless one, you're under the age limit, but then again, you wouldn't be trying to fight for the Olympics. Two, you just feel like you really need to learn more. And at that point, if you got about, I'd say 50, maybe 60 fights, if you feel like you still need to learn more, you probably need to change up some things that you're doing as far as training wise, more so than your experience level. I mean, what would be your reason for staying amateur if you can go to the Olympics as a pro? And then at that case, you're going to actually be fighting pros in the Olympics. And how is that even going to work? I mean, I see some of the guys that are prospects for the Olympics, and I'm not even a prospect in anything, but I'm pretty sure I could take advantage of a lot of those guys. I think it's something that, and they're trying to push it for this Olympics too. I mean, it, I think it's something that should really be watched over. Um, I think it's something that should really be watched over. I don't think we're really ready for that, Abiba. I don't think we're ready for that yet. I think you guys should wait till next Olympics and look at putting it in there for next Olympics. I understand why they want to put professionals in there because, I mean, let's get real. How many people really watch amateur boxing or watch Olympic boxing? They barely even show it during the summer games. They barely show it, and it's ridiculous. But if you had names on there, like all the top names on there, and it's a good chance they're gonna fight each other. They're fighting for their country and everything like that. I think it's a good chance people will watch. People will watch really hardcore with that. And I think the Olympic makeup is just completely oddball. I've never really researched how the Olympic makeup is because if you think about it, like some sports are just strictly amateurs and some sports are pros. And I don't know how they come up with, okay, this sport's going to be pros, this sport's going to be amateurs. But if you want to go boxing, this is a contact sport. It's a man's sport. It's a woman's sport. It's an all-person sport, but it's a contact sport. And the point is that you're gonna get guys that are in the Olympics and they're amateurs. Then you're gonna have guys that are pros in the Olympics and they're gonna compete against each other. Oh man, that doesn't even sound right. I mean, it's not even. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. There's a reason why one's amateur and one's pro. Truthfully, a lot of times it might have to do with age, but once you're past that real age limit, there is a reason, and I don't ever want to. I don't see why they would even go there with that. Yeah, I understand maybe if the guy's pro and he has maybe 5 to maybe 15 pro fights, and he still wants to be in the Olympics. Okay, that makes sense because there's a certain level there. But if you're just gonna open it up, man, that's absolutely wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Yeah, I don't even know where else to go with that one. But let's move on to an issue that was with the Athletic Commission, California Athletic Commission. So as you guys know, I'm in MMA too, and this was something that was brought up more towards the MMA side, but California Athletic Commission is going to look over MMA and boxing and all those contact sports too. So this is one of the topics that kind of goes both ways, and I'll probably bring it up in my with the MMA podcast also. Now we have they have a weight issue. Okay, so they have a problem with weight. People cutting weight, they're losing too much water, they're dehydrating themselves, damn, they're killing themselves to make weight. And then they try to rehydrate whatever they can do to rehydrate for the next day. Yes, it is kind of a scientific approach, or there is certain approaches to take towards losing weight, the right way and the wrong way. But at the end of the day, it is pretty unhealthy. The way a lot of guys lose weight, you can train your body, teach your body to lose weight a certain way, but it's still unhealthy. And what it does is it actually puts the athlete at a way bigger risk of getting like a concussion or having some major trauma happen, especially if they don't rehydrate the right way. Now, and this is going to take me into another conversation, but I just want to get into this one. Now, boxers cut weight, but they don't cut weight like MMA fighters. MMA fighters cut weight like crazy, like wrestlers, a lot of them. Boxers cut weight, but we don't cut weight as much as MMA fighters. Now, here's my thing. What's the point of the weigh-in before the fight, like the day before the fight. Yeah, it makes it easier to cut weight. But if you wanna get rid of that weight cut like that, people cutting weight, not don't allow them to cut weight. Make them weigh in about 6, 7, maybe 8 hours before they fight. Okay, there's no way you can cut weight like that and still be healthy that same day. Um, and really, I think that's the way it should go. I don't think you need to cut weight way in the day before. What's the point? What is the point? Maybe back in the day there was a point for it, but there is no point for it anymore. Okay? Yeah, you could still have fight week. You could still have all your press conferences and everything. I mean, I guess they want to make an event out of the weigh-in, make a day out of the weigh-in. But at the end of the day, you could do so many other things instead of a weigh-in. You could do press conference. You could do, I wouldn't get into an open workout that close, but you could do all kinds of stuff. Truthfully, and it's just time to go. The day that you fight is the day that you weigh in, and that's what you weigh. Because, okay, let's say I fight at 155 or 154 actually, and then the next day I weigh freaking 180. Am I truly a 155 pounder? No, I'm not. I weigh 180. Now here's the thing, everybody's gonna be like, well, then you're gonna have small guys fighting big guys. Not true, because those big guys that weigh 180 or 184 or whatever you want to say they weigh during their weigh-in, they're really in the 200s, okay? So that same day, they're going to be fighting people. Everybody's going to be fighting people their own size, all right? And truthfully, I think we could get better fights that way. I truthfully think we could get better fights that way. I think guys would go at it more. You would feel good. You'll feel energized. You'll feel great. And truthfully, the guys that are usually the best in weight divisions, if you haven't noticed, especially in boxing, is the guys that don't have to cut too much weight. They're somewhere naturally around the size that they are. Maybe they got to cut 2, 3 to 5 pounds at most. But the guys that are cutting like 20 some odd pounds or something like that, those guys, sometimes they do good, but at some point in their career they get burned out, and it happens pretty early. Canelo's a different beast. He's still really young, but that's why I believe he's trying to move into that 160 pound, because he knows that, hey, I can't be doing this 154 much longer because I'm too big. Okay. I think that's a major issue with combat sports, period. I'm not just gonna single out MMA. I'm not gonna single out kickboxing, anything. It's a combat sports issue. And in amateurs, we weigh in the same day. In amateurs MMA, most times they weigh in the same day. So what's the problem? Just weigh in the same day, get it over with, fight your true weight, and then just go out there and do it. I mean, I think the quality of fights will be a lot better, and then the safety, which is the biggest thing, the safety over it all will be way better. Speaking of the safety of boxing and how all that stuff goes, I think I was writing an article, and I just decided, I'm going to put it on my podcast. I'm not even going to write an article about it. But it goes into all the research that like the NFL is doing with concussions. Okay. And it's really advanced stuff. They got protocols when they believe somebody has a concussion, and these protocols go all the way during game time, during practice, during everything. They even have like set rules on how many days they can do hitting drills, and they can have contact and padded workouts and stuff like that, and full dress practice. It's all like been researched and implemented. Okay, now football's a contact sport, so this is why they have to do that, because these guys have major brain damage, dementia, and everything. But I'm going to say football, the object of the sport is not to knock somebody out, knock somebody unconscious, right? That's not the object of the sport. If it happens, it happens. If you crack somebody good in football, hey, it happened, and hey, good hit on me. But that's not the object. It's not to do that. The object in combat sports is to do that. I'm pretty much going to try to stick with boxing on this one, but it goes all around for all combat sports. Maybe except something like wrestling. I consider wrestling a combat sport. And maybe jiu-jitsu, I consider jiu-jitsu a combat sport too. But it goes for all combat sports, like boxing, MMA, and kickboxing, Muay Thai, stuff like that. Who is watching these guys for concussions? Yeah, they get their physicals for their license and everything like that, and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, who is truly watching these guys for concussions? I mean, the doctor doesn't know this guy from A to B, so I mean, he could test him for concussion, certain signs, but I'm talking about brain damage too. Like, I mean, this guy isn't right. How would the doctor necessarily all the way know that? They probably won't. And what people don't understand about fighters, brain damage, concussions, stuff like that, a lot of them get brain damage from concussions and they keep going, is that's part of the sport, To get hit, get a concussion, black out, you're completely spinning, but you got to show your pride and you got to stay up, you got to stay up, keep taking them hits. And, you can will yourself to keep taking them hits until you go completely out, which is a major concussion at that point. But most of these concussions happen in practice. They don't happen in so to say, the fights. I mean, yeah, they do happen in the fights, and that's when it's taken care of at the highest level, where there's a doctor there, there's every all kinds of medical there, paramedics, so if they need to be taken to the hospital or anything like that. So that's the protected part, and that's usually the part where you don't take as much damage. But people take a lot of damage in practicing, sparring and stuff. I mean, think about it. Like I said, the NFL has guidelines upon how many full dress days they can have with contact and stuff like that. Boxing, MMA, all that, they don't have that. There's no such thing as a rule as, okay, this guy can't get more than this many rounds or this many minutes of contact work. And then on top of that, during practice, during sparring, who is in control of, does this guy have a freaking concussion or whatnot? Half of fighters won't even tell their coach they think they have a concussion because they don't want to look weak. I mean, that's part of the game, to have a good chin and it doesn't crack, and you're not dealing with all that stuff. You're not dealing with the weak chin, people messing with you saying, oh, this dude has a weak chin, he has glass chin, or whatever the case be. So you're going to kind of hide it, and you're going to try to play it off. You're going to try to man up against it, right? But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with that. It's a health concern. I personally, I know I've had concussions. I've tried to hide them. I mean, I can remember one time I had a major concussion, tried to hide it, and the effects hit me 2-3 days later, where I was already in a different state getting ready to fight, and I had to go to the doctors, So I think there needs to be some guidelines. Something needs to happen. Who can take over this responsibility? I would say, truthfully, first of all, it's the coaches that need to take over this responsibility. Then it needs to be the commissions that need to take over this responsibility, especially for active fighters that are really in the upper echelon of fighting, the ones that they randomly drug test. If you can randomly drug test people, you can randomly do concussion tests on them at the same time, And there could be a protocol they can make up for it, but these guys, I mean, you don't really realize what you're doing to yourself in this sport until it's said and done, until the damage is already taken, and then by the time that happens, you might not realize it at all because you don't realize how different you really are. And this is like some of the stuff that I've been checking out lately and thinking about myself, because, I mean, who would you say takes more head trauma? People in football or people in combat sports like a striking sport like boxing, like MMA or kickboxing or whatever? Who would you say takes more head trauma? I personally, I've played both, and I'm going to tell you, boxing, combat sports with striking take way more head trauma and like blunt head trauma. I mean, it's and that's the object of the sport. So how do you guys think this type of stuff could be monitored and this type of stuff could be taken care of in a better way? In a better way for everybody. I mean, for the fighter. I mean, for the fans, and even for like the athletic commissions and everything. Because at the end of the day, when people take major trauma and somebody dies or something like that happens in the ring, then people are wondering what the hell, why? It's just, why? This doesn't even make sense that this happened. But besides that, that's some of the stuff I got on my chest. It's not too much talking about fighting tonight, about any of the recent fights or the lack of recent fights, or the matchups that's supposed to be happening, or the lack of matchups that's happening, true exciting matchups, and that's gonna be in a whole nother podcast and everything, but you know how it goes down. Get at me on the blogs, fightgametalk.com. Get at me. I'm out.